Welcome, foolish mortals, to another episode of the HitchHiking Hosts Show 101. I am your host, your ghost host, West Truth, and I am back with another episode all about the history. Well, we are making our way through opening day Tomorrowland of Disneyland, 1955. And we're gonna go riding, we're gonna go cruising a little bit, yeah. Now, warning, I have already recorded the episode, and I am, in life, anytime I talk about this attraction, I'm known to call it Autopia or Autotopia. So if you hear me say Autotopia, I don't need to be told I'm saying it wrong. It's just sort of how it comes out, because it's just sort of how I say it. So I go between both. So just a fair warning for everyone before you hit the dislike button. And then I'll hit a dislike button on you, I'll just hit you. Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about one of the first attractions to ever hit Tomorrowland. And it's still there. And funny enough, this week, this ride has been talked about a lot. So good timing on my part. Pat myself on the back. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the HitchHiking Hosts Show 101, Autopia. Autopia time. Vroom vroom.
I'll never forget that.
Game of those darn birds.
Yes, it's green. It's finally green.
Let's raise some hell. That's not good. Well, that was weird as hell. While there were many exhibits in the original Tomorrowland, there was only one original ride per se. That attraction is still up and running today and is known as Autopia. Imagineers felt the ride would best be suited for Tomorrowland as they wanted it to represent the future of what would become America's multi-lane limited access highways, which were still being developed. Walt thought it would also serve as a great first driving experience for young guests and would teach them how to drive on the new roadways. The project was originally called the Auto Speedway. On October 30th, 1954, the name transitioned into Autopia and has been known that ever since. Imagineer Bob Gurr, who recently graduated from an automotive design school, created the original design of the body of the car, which was inspired by a Porsche 550 Spider and a custom Ferrari he had once seen. The fiberglass bodies were constructed by Glasspar of Costa Mesa. Each of the original 40 Autopia cars, which were dubbed as the Mark I's, were powered by a Gladden 75, a one-cylinder mill producing 7.5 horsepower. I don't know a whole lot about cars, so I'm just going to assume you guys do. The cars were 10 feet long and approximately weighed 1,200 pounds. The car would reach a maximum of 7 miles per hour and could hold 2 to 3 passengers. The ride vehicles were manufactured by Intermountain Design, Utah. An enclosed track would also be built to keep all riders from steering off course. Before the park opened, the cars were tested without bumpers and were almost always completely destroyed by the test drivers. Sounds safe. After this, bumpers were fitted around the vehicle, but there were still problems with collisions. Guide rails had yet to be implemented on the ride. Eventually, the vehicles were fitted with spring-loaded bumpers to discourage collisions. Autotopia revved its engines for riders on the park's opening day, July 17, 1955, and was sponsored by Richfield Oil Company. Throughout Disneyland's first few years, Autopia went through quite a few fleets of ride vehicles as the cars took a lot of abuse. With almost the same look, they went through Mark 1, 2, 3, and 4 by 1958. When the submarine voyage, Matterhorn, and Monorail made their debuts in 1959, so did a new fleet with an all-new look known as the Mark V's. Sounds like a 1960s boy band. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mark V's. The next design, Mark 6, came in 1964. and in 1965 the center guide rail was finally installed. 1967 brought another new design, the Mark 7s, which cost $5,000 per car and looked similar to the new Corvette Stingray. Stingray, ba-da-doo-doo-doo-doo. They would remain in service through 1999 until a fleet of Mark 8s would hit the roadway. The Tomorrowland version was not the only form of Autopia to exist at Disneyland. Other versions include the Midget Autopia, Fantasyland Autopia-later, known later as the Rescue Rangers Raceway, and Junior Autopia, all of which we will talk about in future episodes. And in 2000, Disneyland replaced both tracks of Autopia for a new, much larger attraction sponsored by Chevron. The colorful Chevrolet Corvette Stingray-style cars were replaced by 3 different kinds of cars, which were given the names Sparky, a sports car, Dusty, an off-road style car, and Susie, a Volkswagen Beetle-style car. Each was designed to be tied into the Chevron line of animated Chevron cars, and 4 versions of the Autopia cars were sold as toys during the 2000 summer season at Chevron stations nationwide. Oh, that's a nice marketing. The queue featured animation dioramas featuring the cars, and for old school guests, you may notice the ride's background music from the Disneyland's former People Mover attraction, which closed 5 years before the new Autopia's opening. The voice of Dusty, the Autopia car, is voiced by Matthew Howard, who is said to be the youngest Disney ride announcer as of 2004. The ride safety spiel was recorded in 2004 to remind parents to watch their children due to several minor incidents. Yeah, make sure you watch your kids. A new addition to the track was a short off-road section. Chevron sponsorship ended in the summer of 2012. In the summer of 2012! The Chevron cars still appear in the attraction's pre-show, though obviously dropped the references to Chevron. They've all been removed. In December 2015, Disney announced new maintenance of the Autopia attraction was set to take place in January to April 2016. The maintenance brought a new paint job of whites, silvers, and blues on the existing Autopia queue building and surrounding areas. The new sponsor is Honda, who had recently been forced out from its former display panel inside the Innoventions building, which is now known as the Tomorrowland Expo Center. Another version of Autopia was brought to the Magic Kingdom. However, this attraction was based on international car races instead of futuristic roads. It would be known as the Grand Prix Raceway. The attraction's original sponsor was Goodyear, who supplied all of the tires for the Mark 7 vehicles. The Grand Prix Raceway opened in Tomorrowland on the park's opening day as well, October 1st, 1971. The track was originally approximately 3,118 feet. The attraction saw its length greatly reduced for the first time in 1974 with the construction of Space Mountain. Oh, totally worth losing a little bit of track for Space Mountain. 2 southern curves were shortened and the entire north portion of the track was reduced, which shortened the ride to 2,760 feet. An even larger section was removed to make room for Mickey's Birthday Land, which of course would become Mickey's Toontown later on, sometime between late 1987 and early 1988, and with this time reducing the track to 2,191 feet. And in 2012, the final curve was again shortened when Dumbo the Flying Elephant flew in to a different spot and moved, diminishing the ride to 2,119 feet. The current version of the attraction has actually lost 32% of the original length. In 1994, the Grand Prix theme and name changed to the Tomorrowland Indy Speedway, but the track and vehicles remain the same. New theming to coincide with the new Tomorrowland overlay was installed. On December 20th, 1999, Walt Disney Company and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway partnered to change the theme of the track. The ride was changed to add items from the famous Speedway, such as the famous Yard of Bricks, the scoring pylon, Gasoline Alley, and the Wheel and Wing logo. The loading area featured panels with 3 Indy events, the Indianapolis 500, the Brickyard 400, and the United States Grand Prix. The name was changed in 2008 to Tomorrowland Speedway, which is its current name, resulting in the drop of the Indy portion in the title. The next version of the attraction came to Tokyo Disneyland, where it's known as Grand Circuit Raceway. This version of the ride also opened on the park's opening day on April 15th, 1983. It also remained largely unchanged. This version is sponsored by Bridgestone and features a grandstand for visitors to watch the races, quote-unquote, between drivers. The track is described as a figure-8 shape, but is actually longer. A new ride, Aquatopia, opened at neighboring park Tokyo Disney Sea in 2001, but other than the name, Aquatopia is closer to Disneyland's former motorboat cruise. It was actually just announced the week of this episode taping. How exciting! We got 2 things to do with Autopia when I was writing this. That Grand Circuit Raceway and the Starjet attraction will be closing sometime in the near future at Tokyo Disneyland, to make way for a new Beauty and the Beast themed area and an indoor theater in a Fantasyland expansion. At Disneyland Paris, the attraction opened on Euro Disneyland's first day on April 12, 1992. This version uses the original name of Autopia, but also has its own unique sense of style and theming. The cars are more rounded and feature a toy-like quality to go with a 1950s retro theme, which differs from the Discoveryland theme where it can be found. The park has multiple cars that go around for approximately 7 to 9 minutes. This version of Autopia is sponsored by Ford. And finally, Hong Kong Disneyland is the first Disneyland-style park to not open with an attraction like Autopia. Opening in summer 2006, as part of its Phase 1 expansion, the Hong Kong version, also known as Autopia, is different from the others as it features electric cars with lighting effects and an onboard audio system. Theming includes a lush jungle and alien landscapes. Sweet! Honda, I'd like it if it was alien and jungle landscapes. Honda Motors is a sponsor for this attraction. While it may not be a favorite attraction of those over the age of 12, no matter which park you ride it in, the younger riders keep the lines long. Autopia. I had been to Magic Kingdom quite a few times as a kid. What's the first time? I was to Magic Kingdom 6 times before I finally broke down and rode this ride in Disneyland. It was 2 years ago. So the first time I rode a Speedway ride, I've never been on the Magic Kingdom's version, but I broke down and rode Autopia in Disneyland because I had time to kill and I thought, why not? I'm gonna ride one of these for once. And so the first time I was on this was when I was 26 years old. So yeah, I wasn't huge on this ride. I don't know. I had never been. The lines are always long, and I could ride like this at any theme park. Hershey Park near me had something like this. Dorney Park, where I used to live, had something like this. So I was like, oh, I'd much rather go on something like Splash Mountain than waste time in the line for the Grand Prix Raceway. Or Big Thunder Mountain, or something like that. I know that these rides have their fans, and, that's fine. If you like riding a mock car, that's cool. I mean, I have to drive as it is in real life. It's not like I want to drive in the theme park. But I understand kids. For kids, I understand the how they could like something like this. It's just really not my cup of tea. I mean, I even went on again in 2015. I thought, you know what, I'll give it another shot for Autopia, and I just didn't really care for it that much. I was just sort of like, oh, okay, when's this going to be over? My foot's starting to hurt on the gas pedal. But, for younger, maybe I missed the magic when I was a young kid, because I did enjoy it at, like, Hershey Park and Dorney Park, that type of ride. But, it was always like a second, an afterthought, that type of ride. But, if you have kids and they would be interested in taking the ride, it would certainly be worth doing, I think. I wouldn't wait in line an hour for it, but if you see maybe a 20-minute wait, sure, do it. Because kids do enjoy that type of thing when it's not a necessity for them to drive. But, it's an alright attraction by my standards, but it's not one that I have to go on every trip. Alright, well, that's the episode for this week. I'll be back next week with another episode, and of course, I'll be back with another Hitchhiking Host Show all about the trending topics next week as well. Until then, don't forget to see, I can't even say subscribe, I can say Autopia. Subscribe right here on YouTube, youtube.com/HitchHostShow. You can like the show on Facebook, facebook.com/HitchHostShow. Follow on the Twitter at HitchHostShow and Instagram at HitchHostShow. And of course, if you're listening to the show or y'all want to listen to the show, you can do it on Podbean. It's hitchhostshow.podbean.com, or search on iTunes or Stitcher under the Hitchhiking Host Show or West Troop. Until next time, don't forget to
Hurry back. Hurry back.
for the next episode. See ya.